I love to see the towns passing by and to ride these rails neath God's blue sky. Let me travel this land from the mountains to the sea, 'cause that's the life I believe He meant for me. And when I'm gone and at my grave you stand, say God called home your rambling man.
Welcome to Ramblin' Man Podcast, episode number 155. This one's with Matt Foltz-Gray, and we talk about animation and art. Now, I did something a little bit different on this episode. I had to bake cookies for an event the next day, so I actually was baking cookies as I was having this conversation with Matt. So the audio may be all over the place. I think I cleaned it up as much as I could, but it was a great chat with Matt, hearing how he and I have essentially been in the same room together quite a few times. But it was great talking to Matt. If you'd like to find out more about Matt, be sure to follow him on Instagram at Matt Foltz-Gray, MattFoltzGray. Give him a follow there. He puts up some really cool content. Make sure you look for the Macho Man one that I think is pinned, but watch that one. It's pretty wonderful. I appreciate Matt for being on. Sponsor this week is Feral Giant. Feral Giant is a graphic design, illustration, and social media consultation company based here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So they do work for clients big and small all over the country, all over the globe, in fact. But they also do photography, videography, video editing, and audio editing, website design, SEO, writing, content development. Hell, they'll babysit your kids if it nets them money. So make sure you give them a follow on social media on either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn at Feral Giant. And be sure to give them an email today and hire them for your next project. Without much further ado, here's the episode. Do you like to cook or bake?
Yes, I do. I'd like to always say that I got into bread just right before the pandemic, but I kind of got looped into every time I tell people that I make bread, it was because of the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't.
I had a buddy that made bread, and I bet I gained 12 pounds in knowing, because it was always just like, hey, man, I made you. I was
right.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think nothing beats fresh bread, and we've kind of, I went through like a phase where I was making all kinds of bread, but now we've kind of whittled it down to just like a basic sourdough, and it's kind of like but I still love it, and that's kind of the main baking that I really do. But I mean, any chance I get, I will bake sweets, cakes, all that. Oh my God. I mean, and then I'll eat it all.
Yeah, but look at the difference between you and me. Like, I retain, well, also, as you can see.
Hey, man, I'm a big fan.
I have a lot of Oreos.
Big fan of Oreos, too. They are, I've been getting Oreos a lot, and I know it's, it goes around, but I'm like, man, the double stuffed Oreos have become, to me, seem like just regular Oreos.
Yes.
So I don't buy regular Oreos anymore. I just buy double stuff.
Yeah. And somebody asked me the question. I posted a picture of all those, and they were like, what's the difference between the family size and there were like two sizes for the...
Oh, and then there's the mega stuff.
Party size and family size of the mega stuff is like one has an extra row.
Right.
But those things, the cream is so thick, there's barely any cookies in there.
But I noticed in the mega stuff, I feel like, we're just going to talk about Oreos. But in the mega stuff, it's like, it's not the same cream. It's like whipped.
It's a little softer. Yeah.
I'm suspicious. It's like they didn't lose any money on that endeavor.
So as we were talking beforehand about Dad picking up stuff for me, you can see up there. So those are porcelain milkshake glasses that have the recipe on the glass.
Oh, wow. So what's the recipe like?
I love this. 1 pint of ice cream, 15 Oreo cookies, half a cup of milk, 1/4 cup of chocolate syrup, blend well. I was like, that sounds like enough for me. I would.
That sounds good.
See little bowls like he.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh, my God, I got to get back on Mike. Every Christmas now, he just presents me with a box of stuff he's picked at thrift stores and stuff when over the course of a year. He's like, here you go. And one time it was all Oreo stuff. I was like, you have been, he's like, yeah, I've been holding on to this stuff for a while. It was kind of funny. So we are, for anyone listening at home, I'm sure I'll say this in the preamble, but I am making cookies, so this will be a first. I always keep my ingredients right here. Oh, this is how often I make cookies. Ghirardelli chocolate chip and sea salt.
Oof. Sounds pretty good.
Yeah. So for those listening at home, if you hear me fading away and then coming back, that is what is going on. But I'll try to make it somewhat. It's never professional. Why am I saying it's ever professional?
We're here to, learn and grow.
Yeah. So where are you originally from?
I am originally from Knoxville, Tennessee. Born and raised. I kept that one short.
Yeah. I was going to say, what high school did you go to?
I went to West High School. Well, I went to Central High School for 1 year, and then I went the rest of the time to West because we moved over to West Knoxville.
We're probably about. What year did you graduate?
I graduated 2004.
Oh, hell no. We're way apart then.
When did you graduate?
96. I'm 44.
96. Okay.
Because I know some people who went to West, but I think they would have been gone, the Bairds. So I think Christy was the youngest. She was a long-distance runner. But I think she would have still graduated in like 99 or 2000. So
yeah.
It's a family of 4 kids. Jeff was a year or 2 years older than me, and then one's the same age as me, and then 2 younger ones. So that's why.
Yeah.
I wish I knew the English teacher's name. I had summer school 1 year, and it was an English teacher. It was a guy, and he told us a lot of stuff that I did not know.
There was a history teacher. I can't remember his name, but I feel like he had been around for quite some time, and he's quite a character, but I've forgotten all their names, to be honest.
Oh, hell. I can give you... See, Mr. Bailey for science, Miss Kirkham for science, Mr. Miracle for print shop, Miss Waller for art.
Miss Waller, no.
And then Coach... Oh, no, these are all Fulton people. I went to Fulton. So
I'm sorry.
These are all Fulton. I'm thinking,
yeah.
Hell, I don't even know high school teachers' name. And then all the coaches. Other than that, I ain't got nothing.
No.
I ain't got nothing.
I just got just a couple, but... They're barely in there.
Okay. Okay. What did your folks do for a living?
Both my parents are writers. My father was an English. Well, still is. He's holding on to one class, but he's pretty much retired. But he was an English teacher at Roane State Community College.
Okay.
And my mom, she she worked at Whittle when Whittle was around and then she kind of went off on her own and did a lot of freelance writing and kind of made a whole career over that. But yeah, both writers and yeah.
This is. Sorry. This has turned into a comedy of errors. He's trying to do this.
I know, it's impressive. Well, I was thinking that there's no way I think I could run an interview and also make cookies at the same time. I mean, I'm here to see what happens, but
you're here for the chaos. Yeah, I got you.
At least it sounds like you know this recipe pretty well. So
I'm curious if she knows Kevin and Julie. So Kevin Bradley and Julie Belcher were the one. I don't even. God, I've seen Julie's name spelled. I've never pronounced it, so I don't know. They're the ones who started Yeehaw Letterpress.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
But they met. I think they met at UT or at Whittles.
Okay. Yeah. No, she knows a tremendous amount of kind of, I think just because of being there, like, even like Mahasty and Tomato Head.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because, like, I think Whittle was like that feeder source for that short, and, but then she knows, of course, Corey Torsen, who went on to like the Metropulse and Mercury and all that. But yeah, she knows a lot of those people.
Oh my God,
a lot of people worked at Whittle.
I know, and it's something that I forget about every once in a while.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. I remember, they were like, we had, and I don't know what, but there were like we had tons of like these books that Whittle made. But I have no idea. All I remember is kind of they had like, it said Whittle and it had like an image of like an animal, like a jaguar running or like a zebra. But I remember like opening them when I was a kid and just, it was just words. So I was like not interested. But
well, good Lord, we're going to from cookies to talk about it. This is Ramble Man though. Why am I even stressing about this? I was in middle school when Channel 1 started. So I was in like seventh or I think I was in seventh grade. I think sixth grade we didn't have the TVs, and then all of a sudden in seventh grade we had all the TVs.
Man.
And it was like a crazy thing because you would sit in homeroom.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was like later on because I think it wasn't like this in high school, but in middle school you would sit in homeroom and watch Channel 1 produce news for like 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always think that's a trip, man, to think how novel and weird that was.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
When I was young, when I was a child. All right, okay, where are we at on this? Okay, I got my the other thing I learned years ago, use bread flour instead of regular flour.
Oh, for the cookies.
Yes. It makes them a little bit sweeter.
Well, now, sweeter. Now, because I know bread flour, obviously, for bread, and why you use it instead of all-purpose. But that's interesting. I got to try
Makes them a little bit more fluffy, too.
I do know that there's, like, you can make those cookies with, it's like you buy the pre-made vanilla cake mix.
Oh, yeah.
And make cookies out of that, and it's pretty darn good.
I want to make red velvet cookies, and I found a recipe, but then my boss was like, try it with red velvet batter. So I got all the materials to make both. I was like, nice. I'm going to A-B test. Hey, rub my tummy. I'm going to A-B test it. Okay, so you grew up here, went to West. Your parents are both writers. Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do have a brother.
Okay. Yeah. So when you were young, did they encourage you all into creative stuff, into doing art or writing or anything?
Yeah, definitely. I think they I think they were very much like, you do whatever you want to do and pursue it, but always were very encouraging about art, obviously, and writing, and so I think, they certainly encouraged me and allowed that space for that to happen.
Yeah. Okay. So, did you, when you were a kid, were you always kind of doodling or drawing?
Yeah, I think I was thinking about this, but I think my earliest memory of really like getting the bug, like getting like I want to get better at this was when the Lion King came out. Okay. And I remember that I got a book of how to draw like all the characters, or like those kind of books where it's like draw a circle and then add 2 triangles and and I remember Pumbaa. I could not for the life of me draw him, and it bothered me, and
But did it make you try harder, or did it make... Okay.
And that's a kind of... And I think ever since then, I've always done some kind of drawing. And it's kind of, things changed, and I got interested in computer stuff for a little while, a little later down the line, but then it kind of came back to drawing. And,
okay. Did your brother, is he in the creative fields at all?
He's always, I mean, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever known. But he's more into, it's like he has the same brain as me, but he really likes figuring things out. It's like an engineer's, mind. And,
one of you is the creative, one of you is
yeah. And he was, in high school and everything, he was also very creative and he went to college for a little while for also to be an English major, I believe, and so yeah, he's also always been very creative and all that. Very much I think a creative household.
And I don't even know. Here's how stupid I am. I don't know right brain, left brain. I don't know which one is creative, which one is analytical.
Oh gosh, isn't it left brain that's creative? No, yeah, because like there's that book, Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain, which is supposed to be the opposite, right?
That's right.
Yeah, like you draw with I think you're supposed to draw with your opposite hand or something.
Okay.
Something like that.
When you were a kid, were you into like comics or cartoons and all?
Yeah, I loved Saturday morning cartoons were as close to a religion as I mean they were pretty hardcore, important, and comics, I loved comics. I never I was listening to one of your other podcasts or episodes, and I can't remember who was talking about comics, and I really, I kind of was in that. I was in that time period when, like Spawn and
Image comics.
Yeah, and there was Marvel. There was I think it was when Marvel versus DC. Those kind of
George Perez.
And I would buy them, but it never really stuck. I looked at the drawings and thought the drawings were cool, especially Spawn stuff. I was so into the way he drew Spawn and the toys. The toys were amazing to me at that time, and I remember them being like way more expensive than other toys, and
you almost couldn't play with them.
yeah.
And also, have you ever heard the book Sin City from Frank Miller?
Yeah.
So I have a Marv on the electric chair that you push a button and it actually shakes, lights up, and it voice is like, "Yeah, that's not for children." Marv on the electric chair.
Oh man.
Not for the kiddos. Okay.
But yeah, and then I think beyond that, I think I've always leaned much more towards comic strips. Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes, all those guys. Those were really kind of what I was the most interested in when I was a kid.
It was wild.
And still am.
When I was a kid, my grandmother had all these like little paperbacks that collected like Peanuts. And not Peanuts, Family Circle. Like stuff like that. I think and Peanuts too, but it collected all of them. So it was like if the strip was like 4 panels, it would be 2 panels, 2 panels.
Right, yeah.
Like,
I think
crazy.
I've seen those, yeah.
I think they were from the 60s. Man, I have not made cookies in a while, so I'm like, I cannot do this off memory. Yeah. And I also feel like this is almost performance art at this point.
No, it's good. This could be a whole thing.
Yeah. Jody makes... I could do this.
Making cookies with Jody.
Yeah, I make chili. I make really good chili. So I could do this with everything. Chili's a pain in the ass, though. So.
Yeah, chili sounds like that could be a long interview, too.
Okay. Smarter man. Watch, my alarm is going to go off because I just happened to hit it perfectly. No, it's good. I will get it. No, I don't. Yeah, I think this works. My little
nice
timer. God, now it's trying to keep on. Man, my ADHD brain is not doing good with this. I can almost do this more by rote.
Yeah, do you write out the questions?
I have questions.
Oh, nice.
Now, I use them as kind of like a guide because I started interviewing people I didn't know.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know what to ask you. And, okay, so you like to draw, you like cartoons, into comics a little bit. Do you remember the first piece of art you saw that kind of made you stand up and take notice?
Man, well, I mean I think the closest. I mean, I think there are lots, and I'm sure something will come to mind after. But the first thing that came to my mind, and I don't know exactly when this was, but the first kind of I don't know what exactly defines art, but I remember Norman Rockwell.
Yeah.
I got my hand on one of his books, and I think I was slightly getting into painting at the time, and I remember thinking, this guy's nailed it. He can paint really well, but he also has a sense of humor. It's also some caricature, and it's sweet, which I kind of I dig.
Yeah.
And so I remember really that was something that really just stuck in my brain, and I think I was pretty young. I can't remember how old I was.
Did your parents take you all to museums or anything like that? Or
Man, they did always. I will say that one of the greatest museum experiences I've ever had was because I was into Norman Rockwell,
okay.
And we just happened to be in Florida when a show of his work was on display traveling, and to see his actual paintings, it was the most amazing, because it was the first time I'd been to a museum to see something that I was beforehand already into, which is quite a different experience than you have to go to the museums for school and all that, and so but I mean we were always going to museums and all that.
Okay. Well, I'll always share this because Rockwell is in my top 3.
Oh, nice.
And I will Michelle listen to this? Michelle will probably not listen to this. I went to D.C. because the 2 biggest personal collection owners of Rockwell are George Lucas and Steven Spielberg.
Oh my God, are they really?
And they loaned their stuff to the Smithsonian in D.C. and I went specifically for that. Then I went to see my friend Michelle in New Jersey.
So
I totally went to see Michelle. I totally didn't, but I was like, no, this pushes me to go.
Right.
And it was the best takeaway I had that I try to share with everybody, because there's a lot of people who shit all over Rockwell.
Right, of course.
Because he's on coffee mugs.
Right.
And the aforementioned Michelle is he paints a world that does not exist.
Right.
And there's part of me that's but he kind of paints a world that it would be nice if it existed. Or social commentary with the
very
young
much
black
so.
one.
Yeah.
I was like, no, he anyway.
Yeah.
Michelle and I have argued about that all the time, but I can't get down. That's a whole nother thing. These cookies cannot be infused with anger. They have to be infused with love.
That's right.
But the thing, one of his paintings was hanging up there, and it was a cover of Saturday Evening Post that it was a man in a museum looking at what looked like
like an impressionist.
A Pollock.
Yeah.
Turns out the painting of Pollock, Norman Rockwell did that.
Right.
And he said, that's the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. And he was like, that dude is a genius. That's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life. Oh,
man. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, so you're saying there is a collection in Washington, D.C.?
No, that was like 10 years ago.
Okay.
But it was amazing. They lent it to him for the summer, and it was amazing because it was a lot. I want to go back, but I've looked at where, because I guess it's Rhode Island, right, where the main. Oh yeah, where the museum is,
or New Hampshire.
It's somewhere up in the Northeast. Yeah. He's a weird I'm gonna go back to comics for a second. When I was in college, I'd gotten out of collecting comics. My dad gave me his comics from when he was in the service, so that's why I grew up reading. Was Spider-Man's from the late '60s, early '70s. Right. And then during the boom of the late '80s, early '90s, I read them, and then I got out of them. When I got back into college, I met 2 dudes, Michael and Greg, who got me back into comics. So this is a long way around. I'll get there, I swear.
Right.
This guy, Stan, who had a had a booth at Green Acres Flea Market and had a comic book shop in Pigeon Forge. I walked in there one time. He had books, but he also had comic books. But we went to see him for comic books. And he had a coffee table Norman Rockwell book. I picked it up. I was like, cool. It's like, man, I love Norman Rockwell. And he rang me up. And then next week we came in, there was a different Norman Rockwell book sitting there. And I was like, oh, man, cool. And I picked it up and I bought it. And the third week I walked in, I saw one. I looked at him and he just looked at me and went, he's like, I got a stack of them at home. I was like, just bring them all in. I'll buy them all. You're an idiot. And he was like, I got you. I was like, it took me 3 weeks to figure out what he was doing. He's like, anybody else you like? It's like, well, MC Escher. He's like, all right, I'll get some of them in here too. Nice. So I have just a stack of Norman Rockwell.
I love them.
Yeah.
I used to have a giant book of like his, but I don't anymore for some reason.
There was a period when I worked for this company called Home Tour, and I would actually like scan them in because it was right when Photoshop or the scanner had introduced this plugin where, 4-color printing process, cyan, magenta, yellow, black, and it creates these little circles that you can see through a loop. Well, there was this plugin in Photoshop that would blur and then sharpen it, and you wouldn't see those circles anymore. So I was like scanning in stuff. I was like, I want this as my background on my desktop and all that stuff. And now it's like I can probably Google it and find on Wikipedia.
Right.
High-res versions. Okay. Let's see. Comics, first piece. Okay, so you're going... Were there good art programs when you were in middle school and high school?
No.
No?
No, I don't. I think maybe in middle school, I think I had an art teacher that was very sweet to me, but it wasn't, a lot of it was, I didn't get very involved in it. I think I was, it wasn't, it seemed, it wasn't my bag.
Yes. School in general.
Yeah. And like art, I don't, it seemed like art classes after school, art, what are they, AP art and stuff in high school. And it just seemed it seems so community based, and I was like, I wanted to get home and just draw and not really be a part. I was, and that's me. That's my bag. But yeah, so I think they had like West had some programs like AP Art, and there was a group, but they kind of, they also were like, they seemed like the popular kids, and I was
really?
Like, at that there were like the popular art kids.
Okay.
I
was going to say...
Not like the popular kids.
Because I think you had to take art for a year or semester when I was in high school.
Right.
And the people who stuck with art all the time, I'm not kidding, it was me and 3 young women who were all... pre what goths were, but they were like the punk girls.
Yes.
The 3 of them and I would go to the Mercury Lounge on Market Square, me, big football, wearing like Fulton football shorts that were short shorts and a t-shirt, Fulton football.
Yeah.
With these 3 girls who were like makeup, mohawks, crazy shit. We're going there to see Green Day on the Kerplunk tour, like Operation Ivy, all these weird punk bands that we saw.
Man.
And I got corrected on this because I was talking about it. I was like, I swear I saw Green Day there in like 93, 92. And a buddy of mine texted me like 3 days later. He's like, I listened to the podcast. You did, because my wife and I's band opened for him. I was like, oh, shit. He may listen to this and correct me again. But it was something like that. And it was whoever owned it and booked, or whoever booked it, was friends with the people who ran that record label. So they got all those punk bands, all those Seattle Lookout Records punk bands in there. But it was me at like 13 or 14.
Yeah.
With 3 girls who were also 13 or 14.
Where was the Mercury Lounge?
It's where Press Pub is now.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was further in the middle, but I got corrected because back then there was nothing. This is pre-Tomato Head.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing on Market Square. besides that and the subway.
Man, I'd love to. It's hard to find photos of. I know, like you can find the photos of Market Square when there's like that weird covering over it,
Yes.
you know. But
you can find 70s. You can't find many like 80s or especially not 90s. Because
Right.
90s, it was.
nobody was down there taking.
Well,
photos.
the only people who were there were the heroin addicts in Crutch Park. Like, I
Right.
remember walking the three of us back to our car, which was parked on like Gay Street.
Yeah.
Because nobody was
Nobody
there.
was there, yeah.
And having to pass Crutch Park and just being like, literally people just laying
yeah,
in the middle. It was insane.
it's wild how much. It's
And my
changed.
parents don't know any of this shit. I would sneak out. But yeah, that's who was the only art kids in my school. That's why I say when you said popular kids, I was like, whoa, no.
No, there were like there were a couple guys, and they were all nice. But I just remember in high school there were like a couple people that were like, they were like the token art, like they were the chosen ones.
Yeah.
Like they were. Everybody was like, oh, that's that's the artist there, and they were intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
And I always felt very separated from them, even though I was into art, but it was like I think even at that time, I think both of them were very much into kind of, this fine art realm as
Yeah.
as far as you can get in high school. But
Yeah.
but I was kind of at that point already on like an animation and.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Already
yeah,
at that point.
I was ready. I was carrying the Richard Williams animator survival kit.
Oh, I don't know that
to
one.
art class when I was.
Okay.
So I was all, it was like a different realm already.
Now, is this like paper animation or is this like in the computer?
No, at the time it was paper and I was really just I can't remember how I kind of I think I just learned about it and got really into it I think when I graduated I went for the summer to a little school in Vancouver.
Okay.
That was called Van Arts and they
Okay.
did like a summer 2D intensive paper flipping and
Oh my God.
Oh, it was so fun. I had the it was the first time I had ever like been on my own and I think my parents were nervous wrecks. But I was working at Mr. Gaddy's at the time and I just I talked to my parents and was like, hey, if I like save up a bunch of this money, I know where else was I spending it.
Yeah, yeah.
And can I go and do this thing? And they vetted it and it was amazing and yeah, I mean I love that tradition.
How old were you at this point?
I just graduated.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I thought you were like 15 or something.
No,
I was
no,
like,
no.
oh my
I
God.
just graduated.
Okay.
And so it was kind of like that. I think everybody or a lot of people take that like,
Gap year thing.
when they graduate, they take a trip, and that was kind of
Okay, yeah.
that was kind of the trip that I took, and man, it was fun to do that.
Okay.
Just hardcore hand drawn, like staying there all night and all that
my
stuff.
God.
It was fun.
Was there ever a point when you were doing it going, man, I don't know if I can do that?
No, not at the time. No, I loved every second of it. I thought it was just about the coolest. It's like I think it's one of those things where like when you can pretty much find everything interesting if you really lean into it. And
Yeah.
I think being there and being around, other people that were eager about it, and the teachers were eager about it, and it was a very small little school. And it was just, I mean, it was like that's all I did. And
Yeah.
I just, I think, it was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So when you're in high school, you're not really taking art classes, but are you doing animation just for fun?
Oh, yeah.
On your
Just
own?
Yeah.
Holy
yeah,
shit. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. and
What's the age range between you and your brother? Is he younger, older?
he's 2 years older.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I think I would take an art class every semester or every year in high school, but the art teacher that I had was pretty much, he was kind of checked out.
Yeah.
He wasn't that interested. So it kind of gave me an opportunity. I could bring my little, book, and I could, draw from that, or read it, or
Yeah.
And so it kind of worked. And I think the same, where I did like art classes because it was the most. I think it was my opportunity to get to know people in a way that was a little more casual, and so
Okay.
I think I did. We get set up. I always liked that you'd get sat with somebody that
Yeah.
didn't give a shit about art class, and then the person that really gave a shit, and but you'd all, because you're sitting in that, it was like the formal kind of desks.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Did you pique anybody else's interest where they were like, what is that? Like they got into it too?
I remember there was one girl that was sitting at the same table as me that wanted to look through, and the book it's called The Animator Survival Kit, and it's by Richard Williams.
Okay.
He did Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and but I remember she would take the book and draw the characters out of the book and then turn it into the art teacher as like her own stuff.
Oh, geez.
But
Okay.
other than that, I think some people knew what I was doing, but like I was kind of
Just on your own.
Yeah, I was a pretty quiet kid,
All right, here we go. I'm going to try.
All right,
I'm
all
going to
right.
do this. So I'll
I
ask
haven't
you.
even seen you put them in.
Oh, I'll ask you a random question,
Okay.
and so we can see what it's going to be like when this.
Okay.
So, did you grow up playing any sports?
I did. I played like Little League baseball, which was pretty horrific. And I played a little bit of basketball, and that was better. And then, but then I think around middle school, I really my kind of sport became skateboarding, and
Okay.
that was all I did for a while.
Do you know Eli Johnson, photographer?
Eli Johnson.
He just started a skateboarding company called Ethos.
Okay,
ETH.
nice. No, I don't. Local guy.
Yeah, nicest guy in the world. Super.
I
He
wonder-
does concert photography for like Bijou, Tennessee, for Lock and Key. But he is, and I just poured like half a bottle of vanilla. In there. So
Hey, man,
this is going to be.
can't be that bad,
No, it's vanilla. Okay, skateboard. So
Yeah.
again, running joke. I never learned how to ride a bicycle because I was a skateboard kid.
Ah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, I see this awesome
That
one over here.
that was one of mine growing up. I had that and a banana board
Oh, nice.
that is in the basement that the wheels kind of rotted off.
Man.
Crap.
I love skateboarding. It was kind of it was a fun time, and kind of the same. I think it feels like, I always think about kind of modern times now, but it just felt like I was always kind of middle school and early parts of high school. I just was always roaming the streets with my skateboard looking for spots, and I spent so much time just by myself, skateboarding, doing these, and because I would get, I think kind of it was like before drawing, and I got really into skateboarding, and I for a time was like, I'm gonna be professional, and so lots of times my buddies didn't want to. They would come with me sometimes, but sometimes I wanted to skateboard longer than they did, and so lots of times, it was just kind of this thing where, you do a great trick, and nobody would be there to.
So I was going to say that was my thing where for a long time I was the only kid in the neighborhood. It wasn't like 8 years. There was like 8 years difference or something.
Right.
So I would just skateboard and do tricks and do stuff just by myself.
Yeah.
Nobody paid attention.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Back in the days when the parents were just like, I just don't go too far.
Yeah.
Or you'll
yeah.
be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think it's one of my favorite.
So I have. There's been a few people trying to get me back into skateboarding, and I'm like, I think I'm too top heavy, and I am too old at this point. Like, it actually scares me a little
Right.
bit.
Right.
So have you kept up with it at all?
No, I think it was a couple years ago. I I got a a wild hair, and I have a stepdaughter who at the time was I think maybe 12, maybe 13.
Okay.
She's 15 now, but I was like, I'm gonna go to Pluto's way out in West Knoxville. I was sad that it was no longer on Cumberland, but I'm gonna buy a whole new set, just everything, and I'm gonna, of course, I'm gonna try and see if my stepdaughter will want one too. Yeah. And then but she was not interested, and so I just got my own. And for a minute, about 3 days, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get back into skateboarding.
Yeah.
And I tried to ollie, and just immediately pulled like some muscle that's connecting my hip to my leg, and
You were
I was
done.
like, yeah, this is not.
This is
good.
going up on Craigslist.
Well, and it's great because it was like you realize that like I really wish I had just kept it up a little, because I think one of the things I realized was like I'd forgotten how to fall, and I was like, man, it's gonna.
And if you're scared to fall, you are screwed.
Yeah.
That fear of falling is brutal.
And if I had like just kept it up, I would have, been able to kind of hold on to that and been a lot, I just don't. I can't afford to break an arm.
I'm also not a small man. So the other thing is, I don't think I can physically. I think I might actually break that board. But I will say, I did do the thing where you kick the back end and flip it up, flip it around, and grab it. Dad gave me that thing because it was back in the shed, and I was like, huh. And I set it down. And I did it and caught it first one. I was like, hell yeah. I was like, I can never do that again. And then he was like, their driveway is a little bit long and it has a little bit of a pitch to it. Mm-hmm. And he looked at me and was like, why don't you go up to the top and ride down? I was like, you won't see me hurt, don't you? And he was like, yeah. he was like, oh, I'm going to see you fall. And it's going to be, hold on.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a brand new skateboard underneath my bed right now. But who knows?
Maybe. Yeah, now there's a company that, they have organized some get-togethers on Market Square where it's like 50, 60 people.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. And I love that. I have this fantasy. I would love to, like, because I'm, getting up early for work and all that. I have this fantasy of like getting up extra early and like going to Tyson Park before anybody else gets there. Yeah. And just skateboarding, just cruising the bowls and all that stuff. But I'm like, no, I'd destroy myself day one.
All right, let's see.
All right, there we go.
I forgot to freaking soften my butter. That's the one thing I was like, man, I should have set it out before I left work.
Right, yeah.
Because it's almost like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I am a little OCD and ADHD. So what I've learned is if the mixture and everything is a little bit too warm, then it is a little more melty.
Oh, like when you're baking it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure this is fascinating.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah, I could describe. We're using a KitchenAid.
It's nice and fluffy.
Oh, nice.
Okay, now it's on to the chips. So sports. Okay, so you go off after school. Was that just like a summer program?
Yeah, it's just a summer.
Okay.
Just summer.
So when you were graduating high school, I know you had that, but did you kind of know what you wanted to do when you graduated high school?
I think, well, yeah, I think that also was what kind of prompted me to do that, because I think my first job was at the Knoxville Expo Center, and I was just working concessions. Yeah. And I don't know, it was on my mind, just trying to think like what do I, definitely don't want to do this forever. Yeah. So what am I gonna do? And I, that kind of, it was like a mix of drawing, but then also it was also kind of around that time period when computer animation was kind of coming into play. It's when like the new Star Wars and all that, and so it was big, and I knew there was that obviously that was a career path.
Plus, you had like Apple released the first iMac in like 98, 99, so you had like an affordable home computer.
Right, yeah.
Like a crazy
expensive
one.
Well, yeah, I remember there was in high school.
I'm totally ruining the audio. Realizing that. Oh my God, look at that.
I was settling now.
Mixer. Okay.
Man, there are those ones where I think they like do something. Oh, it like I don't know, it sits deep or something. That's kind of nice.
Oh. That one's fine. That one's fine. I don't know about that. Okay.
What was that?
It was animation kind of at home.
Right. Well, I remember that this was, I think, my senior year in high school, and I think maybe in that art class there was a guy that was, he had the keys to the kingdom as far as like illegally downloading and getting programs, and so I remember I knew about Maya, which was like the 3D program.
God,
and so I asked him. Yeah, so I asked him to if he could get me that, I would be very appreciative. And so I got into that, and then went to the Vancouver thing, and in the so it was already on my mind. But in the Vancouver, part of also why I went there was I had seen that they were going to have this kind of guest lecture and they had some other great people there too, but they were going to have some guest lecture by 2 Pixar animators.
Okay.
And I think, it just seemed like at the time they were like rock stars, and
they were batting 1,000.
I know, yeah. I mean, I think Finding Nemo had just come out, and yeah, I mean.
Although I will say, so pre-pandemic, hold on, let me get back on the mic. Pre-pandemic, I had taken my little sister to every Pixar film except for A Bug's Life. Somehow we just missed it. My sister was born in 90, so she's 11 and a half years younger than me.
Right.
So I took her to every film. We both walked out of Finding Nemo not liking it at all.
Huh.
And then only came later when she would remember parts and we would watch it at home. Where she was like, no, I've come to love Finding Nemo. There was something about that first watch where we did not like it.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Which I always think that's weird because it's heralded as like one of probably the top 5.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. But yeah, I'm like, I would, I'd be curious to like. Do you remember why what about it?
No, it may. I would say, if I had to guess, I would say it was. We were probably annoyed by the 2 main characters because Albert Brooks was always operating at like an 11 of anxious and anxiety, and then Ellen DeGeneres' character was so bumbling that it was probably a little bit of this is just getting on our nerves. A little bit because we're both kind of anxious people, so it's like I think that may have been a little bit of what it was.
Man.
All right, this will be interesting. I'm gonna try and do this over here so I don't have to do it over here.
Okay, well, yeah, we need a clear space.
Well seasoned.
Nice, love it.
I don't know if that's good or bad, but
I think it's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
If anything, it shows you use them,
Yeah. Okay, so you go up to Vancouver. How much of a culture shock was that for you?
Oh man, it was. I remember the main thing that I was like, oh man, was that I realized when I was there because I had just turned 18.
Okay.
And I realized when I was there that I was in Vancouver. I was too young to smoke, and
really,
and like the drinking age there was 19 and the smoking age was 19. So I couldn't do anything, which at the time I was like all by myself, and I was like, man, this is the time, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I got in my head before I went. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And so I remember that.
That's hilarious.
So that was a bit of a, but you know, otherwise, there wasn't anything that was shocking beyond it was a pretty big city and bustling city, and but
it's also a different coast, right? Isn't it on the west coast?
Yeah, and it was beautiful. I mean, that was my walk to the school every day. I had to cross this this bridge, and it was just amazing because underneath me was water, and then right in front of me were these like modern, sleek skyscrapers, but then right behind those were these beautiful mountains, like all in the same setting, and it just was, it's a cool place. I haven't been back there since then, but I'd love to go.
Go. There you go. There's a goal.
Oh yeah.
Do you know, is that school still around?
I think it is, but they had to move because they were right where the Vancouver Winter Olympics were a few years ago.
Yeah.
And I think when Olympics come to town, they tear some stuff up. So I know they had to move, and I'm pretty sure they've become a much bigger place now. When I was there, there is like, and I if anyone listening, they like did a promotional DVD, and I'm on it.
Really?
For like that year, but I'm a mouthful of braces, and
oh my god,
and I'm just
no cigarettes, no booze.
I know. And I would
wide-eyed and bushy.
I know. I would love to get my hands on that DVD and find that clip. I've looked on YouTube before and can't find it, so that's the only place
That's got to be in some like HR person's
I've
drawer.
thought about like calling the actual studio and being like, "Hey, do you have the promotional DVD for 2004, 2005, or something?"
Be like, just tell them, I'm trying to solve a murder.
Right.
They'll totally give it up to you then. Okay. Don't know if you saw, I did wash my hands.
Oh, I wouldn't have even noticed. So.
I am, in the wintertime, my hands crack because I wash my hands. I'm one of those that's like, man, I know I touched something. I got to wash my hands.
Yeah. I haven't been afflicted with that. I get, actually, in the wintertime, I get that thing that my fingers go numb, like just randomly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's called something, but.
Okay, so you're in Vancouver. Are you being more like outgoing and meeting people? Are you becoming friendly with? I don't mean to say that against the high school, but it's just like, are you like, okay, I'm up here, I need to meet people in this industry?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like at the Vancouver thing, there were a couple people, and we did hang out, and in the actual school there was a great kind of sense of camaraderie. But I still was kind of, I think afterwards, most of the time I was going back to my room, and I was going back to my room, and really I was either continuing to draw, or I was like studying Disney movies, or yeah, I mean, I was very much into it. So okay. I was just working pretty much, but it was great. I mean, I did make a couple friends, and they were great, and a lot of people were from all over the world. So it was sometimes there was a language barrier going on, and
I also feel like that would probably be a good place where you meet people that you never know, like later on they may be working, like a networking thing.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I will say that that's never been my kind of strong suit. I think in hindsight, I think I've had lots of opportunities to like network better, and I'm just not good at it. And it's like I'm such a, I think just a little loner, you know.
Well, I know you do more animation. You will be at home in the Knoxville Society of Illustrators, if you've seen me post about that, because everybody in there is kind of their own thing. And I am the lone, like, can talk to a wall.
Right.
I will say there are two people in that, Esther, who's been on before, and Anna, my neighbor, that they are also people who cut to the quick and say stuff. And I'm like, wow. I was like, that's amazing. And then Jimmy, who was just on, they always give me shit. They're like, you and your spicy takes. It's like, yeah, I don't really care. So I'll say whatever. There we go. Where's my timer? I'm not going to use that. That thing sucks. Here we go.
All right.
You are like 20 minutes away from having a cookie.
Hey. Nice.
Okay, make sure that's started. All right, so Vancouver summer program. So while you're up there doing that, were you like, oh crap, I've got to do something, go to school, get a job, whatever, when I get back home?
Yeah. I mean, I really think at that time I was just pumped about the future. I just was like, man, the world is full of possibilities. So I think I was just excited, and I think my plan was, I at the time I took a year off after high school, but I did some kind of foundation classes at Roan State.
Okay. Did you get an employee discount?
I did, yeah,
Good
of course,
job.
yeah.
Hell yeah. I'm all for that, man.
Yeah. And but when I was in Vancouver, when the Pixar animators came to talk, during their talk they kept talking about their students, and I had no idea what but I was like, are they teaching somewhere? And so I asked one of them as I was getting their autograph.
Yeah.
But I asked, where do you guys teach? And they said the Academy of Art in San Francisco.
Okay.
So that became like an immediate, I had no idea, but I'd already knew about like Cal Arts was a big
I knew about Cal Arts
feeder of, I mean, it's crazy how many people that have gone on to kind of create this whole animation world are from Cal Arts. So I knew about that, but I knew that Cal Arts had a pretty immense, or it seemed intimidating, the acceptance program.
Yeah.
And not a great thing, but I've never really been good at like having a portfolio, So I just was not prepared, and I knew the Academy of Art was cheaper and you didn't have to have a portfolio to get in, which, I think we've learned now it's kind of a scam, but it worked for me. Okay. And so and that's basically where I ended up going, and for animation, and that all evolved.
And that was in San Francisco?
San Francisco, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How was that, moving to San Francisco?
I love San Francisco.
San Francisco's the shit.
Yeah,
I love that town.
yeah. No, I mean, it was great. And that really is where, because I had to, first year I had to go to an all-male dorm, and that really was where I just, made some really good friends and buddies that, I wouldn't have otherwise, you know, and like, I think even my roommate at the time, just kind of like very different people, but because we were roommates, it just worked, and we became great buds. And so that first year, especially, I got in trouble because I had too much fun, but it was worth it.
Because you're 19, you could smoke and drink.
Yeah, I mean,
well, not in the States,
yeah,
though. Not in the States.
But we figured out a way for sure. So,
that's hilarious.
So and that, the whole time in San Francisco was great and wild, and had a lot of fun, got a lot of trouble, and
so when you go there, did you have to specifically choose a track to be on?
Yeah, and I when I went there, it evolved, but I started with maybe it was the same degree that I do have, but I started with like computer animation. And I think especially at the time there was like such a culture of like, it was almost like boot campy all the time. They were like, you're gonna live, eat and drink this animation, and you're gonna be here all night, and it was immediately kind of off-putting for me. It's like I don't respond to that very well. and I was like, I don't think this is for me. But they also had the illustration department, and going into the illustration department was just like this. It was equally as intimidating, but like intimidating in a way where I was like, man, I wanna get this. I wanna, you know. So it evolved from 3D animation, character animation, to a focus more on, and in the illustration department was also the 2D animation.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I moved over to 2D animation, and but then I was like, man, I don't feel like spending a whole semester animating a guy's foot move.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want to tell the story. So I kind of transitioned over to storyboarding and focused on learning how to draw, like really learning how to draw and telling stories. And so, you know, and that all kind of happened in the first year.
Okay.
And then kind of went from there.
In looking through your work, you have kind of a style. So did they tell you need to find a style, or did they push you to be like, hey, have you thought about doing more of this? Or like, how did... I got to remember. I'm going to write down another question because you were in San Francisco. I have another question for you.
Well, they really were like, don't have a style. They were very much like, it was great training for me because they you know, the variety of classes and drawing that I took, I just learned how to draw, like really fundamentally and experimentally and everything in between. And you know, I think there were I always tell my wife that, you know, my first year there, everyone that I knew was gone by the second year. And I think because I think part of it was that it was open admission, but also I think a lot of people, you know, they do get a reality check, especially in art schools that are focused on commercial art, that they can be tough and pretty like brutal to the ego, which is, I think, what is kind of what you need.
Yeah.
So yeah, they, you know, there were people that came in with a style and they were like, I want to stick to this style. And like, I mean, that was, by the end, I was like, that is trouble. It's not going to work. And they would really, they'd really make you stop that, you know? And, but I think it was good too.
Okay. Starting my normal. So in notes, I always have a section down at the bottom, which is homework for you.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So there's this guy, Mike Kunkel. I'm probably going to misspell that he did this book called Hero Bear and the Kid. He was a former, I think he was like either a Disney or maybe a Don Bluth animator. Mm-hmm. That those comics, the only thing that sucks is he independently published them, and he randomly published them. So there's no like one definitive, here's all of them.
Right.
Because they were released over the course of like 12 years.
Hero Bear and the Kid?
Hero Bear and the Kid. But look at, like, I wrote it down, so I will.
Oh, yeah.
I will send you this.
Awesome.
With Jimmy, I literally sent her a list. She had never heard of Peter Gabriel. Now, Jimmy is younger than me, but I'm still like, how do you not know Peter Gabriel? Right there. I've been listening to him. I'm seeing him next month, so I'm freaking out.
Nice.
Why did I bring up Mike? Oh, because he had a distinct style that it felt like it was like, I feel like some people may have tried to push him out of that. Also, if they ever made Hero Bear and the Kid into an animated film, it would be absolutely astounding. It's like love Christmas time, love Christmas movies. Randomly, the year it came out, turned on Claus. The thing on Netflix. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's one of the best movies.
Oh, it's beautiful, yeah. And
it's beautiful, and the story, the way, and it makes me think of Hero Bear and the Kid. I don't want to spoil anything, but something happens in it that's kind of a twist that's just like, holy shit. Like, it was so... Oh, cookies.
Cookies.
The other one is Raymond Briggs, the Snowman. It's also one of the saddest damn things.
Oh, like animated? Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen that one. It's sad. I
So-
haven't watched
so-
it in a long time.
So when my parents got a VCR in like the early 80s, or in the 80s, it came with a tape of the Snowman. And it was the original British one that doesn't have the David Bowie intro. It has Raymond Briggs doing the voiceover that makes it even the David Bowie one makes it a little bit hopeful. Like he was like, "Oh, I remember when I was a child." The Raymond Briggs one is like, "Everyone will die." Like it is the saddest.
Man,
and
I don't remember the plot of it.
Oh,
I just remember the images.
Here we go. How are these going to turn out? Okay, those are good.
Dude, looking
Now,
pretty
here's
good. Oh, the seesaw. That's right. Nice touch.
So also, I'm going to try to yell this, so hopefully it will pick up. The lower rack doesn't get as much heat for whatever reason.
Oh, yeah.
So usually I put those in first because I know they need to bake a little bit.
Oh, right. Yeah, I feel like every oven's a little...
Oh, God. See, there's the melted butter. See how it's kind of burnt?
Uh-huh.
Around this. But that usually means the bottoms are a little crunchy, but the tops are extra soft.
Yeah.
So
That works for me.
you'll taste test both, right?
That's right.
Okay. Here, I'm just going to shout. The Walt Disney Family Museum. Have you ever been there?
No, I know exactly where it is, though. It was opening right around when I was about to leave. They do have, also in that same area, the Cartoon Museum. And I've been there many a times, and I've seen some beautiful stuff there.
Well, the Family Museum had a Fantasia, which is my favorite.
Oh, my gosh.
They had a Fantasia exhibit, but they had one of the 7 plane cameras there. And I was just like, holy shit. Like, I turned a corner, and there it was, and I was freaking out.
I think
It was
that's
like,
one of the greatest things.
oh, my God.
Ever.
It's amazing. And, but yeah, seeing the Fantasia. Like I can just watch that on repeat, man. It's just so moving. Fantasia 2000, not too much.
No, I mean the only one. It's funny because I know I've read about how Walt Disney was hoping for it to be like this kind of annual thing. But yeah, I mean there are a couple in the Fantasia 2000 that I've always loved, but it was partly because. There's one that's kind of based off Al Hirschfeld.
Oh yeah,
and so of course I'm like.
I was going to say I say that I haven't watched it but like once or twice. So
well,
there's
it
may hit me again.
There are those ones where it's like there's a lot of stuff from that time period when the computer animation was really coming in, but it it looks so dated now.
Yeah.
So.
What is your degree in animation, or is it more? Is there a term that's more focused than that?
I think the broad umbrella of my degree. I think what my actual degree says is animation and visual effects.
Okay.
So,
and you started learning in Maya.
Yeah, but I mean that the Maya didn't last.
What
very
was
long.
Out there? What were they doing?
Oh, I think they were doing Maya. Yeah, they were doing Maya.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, there's other programs, but I had already moved on so quickly from.
Yeah.
I was trying. I think for me, it was learning how to, use Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator and all that kind of stuff. Those were kind of the new technologies for me at the time. As opposed to pencil and paper, like using Flash. And
oh god,
stuff
Flash!
Like that.
Oh god,
yeah.
I tried to. There's a point where I was like, you know what, I want to make because I'm a big, huge film nerd. I was like, I want to make more films. Trying to get people together to shoot film is a nightmare. I'm gonna do so. I wrote out ideas for films, and I started working on a Flash because for me, it's a lot of like this. tied to music.
Right.
So I found this song. I was like, okay, what could go along with this? Oh, what about this?
Right.
And I started working on it. I think I made it like 3 seconds in, and I had been working on it for like a week. And I was like, you know what? Nah, I need to just wait until this gets better and find somebody better than me to do this. Because holy hell.
We always joke at my wife and I, but there's that great scene in
Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Everybody knows that
motion.
scene.
The stop
Everybody.
motion.
Would a depressed person do this?
Yeah. He's like, I've been working on that for 2 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's
oh my
true.
God.
Why do we do this?
yeah. Okay, so you get your degree out there. Were they good about job placement in a place like Pixar or anywhere?
Yeah. You know, I mean, this is one of those, what I was kind of saying earlier, that I think, you know, it's such a thing that I would tell a youngster now and sound like such an old man, but I think you get out what you put in.
Okay.
And there were plenty of people that would get really involved because, of course, they had all kinds of programs, and like, you know, students would get together and work on a short film, all this, you know, and build these big connections. But I was doing that same old where I was going home and working on my own stuff and kind of just, and so I think, you know, in hindsight, and, you know, I don't regret anything, but in hindsight, I'm like, oh man, like all of those people that were really like put in the kind of extracurricular and all these things to make, you know, more of a community really because I made like community, but not in school. Like I was like making, you know, outside of school. And all those people, a lot of them are, you know, pretty deep into, you know, places like Pixar and Disney and tons of other places that it's amazing to see, you know. But yeah, I'm like, anyone listening or anything, like if I, you know, and I'm not saying I would go back and do it, but the one thing I have noticed is like those people that got really involved got those connections later on that, like, you know.
I was never good at the networking part.
Right.
I would just get very tired of like sitting in class and be like, all right, we need someone to lead this project. And after about 15 seconds of no one speaking and everyone's here, I was like, all right, I'm in. I'll do it.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, let's just get this moving. I'm tired of, I don't like wasting time. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, there was one guy and I remember, because I came upon him recently on LinkedIn, and I was like, oh my God, like I just happened to recognize his face just enough. But he, you know, I can't remember what his degree, he was in the animation department, but he didn't really seem like he liked to draw much. But he was very active in like organizing and very much like he kind of already set the stone, like he was running the show. And last time I looked, or when I looked, I can't remember exactly, but he's like the head of some division of
course he is.
Disney, like, but not like, it's like weird, but it's up there, you know. And I'm like, man, that's impressive, because he was even at the time, like, I was impressed by how like involved he was, you know. So it's interesting.
So most of your work now, it kind of looks still hand drawn, but it's all, I assume. Is it Procreate? Like, what are you using to create your animation?
Yeah, you know, kind of, you know, I feel like I've gone through so many kind of changes. But in the past couple of years, I've really been enjoying, for a lot of, at least my own personal stuff, I've been enjoying using, I've been keeping up a pretty active sketchbook habit, and I really like trying to take drawings that I've done in my sketchbook and put them into, you know, a program like Procreate, and redrawing them, but really trying my best not to fiddle with them much from the sketchbook, because I think that it feels I think going on the sketchbook journey, I'm like, man, I learned that, this is really me. This is like, this is, because I think all those things like style and all that, like I've made a professional career, being kind of, I always say it's kind of like chameleon of illustration, where it's like my job, my talent, and my skill is to match other styles and kind of go from there. And I think, my college education, all that trained me really well for that, that's, but it did leave me in this place where I was like, who am I? Who am I trying to be? So, so a lot of the stuff I've been doing now is kind of coming from the sketchbook, and then I put it into Procreate and all those programs and draw it up in there, and color it and all that.
Okay. I should have written it down. I wrote down one question and I had another one. Oh, do you work off of like a Wacom tablet or a Cintiq or anything?
Yeah, I do. I've got the iPad, and I got the iPad a year ago. And
I keep going old, like Wacom or Cintiq. I was like, oh yeah, no, everybody works off an iPad.
I will say that I'm like, I got the iPad like a year ago, and not even a year ago, maybe a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Procreate especially, but before then and still now, like for work and but even for personal stuff, before I got it, I have a big computer and a Cintiq, and thank you.
Yeah. And I swear I would normally eat, but I've also learned that I cannot eat sweets or caffeine after like 7:30 because it doesn't keep me awake. I grind my teeth so bad at night. There was a minute I was looking at it. I was like, am I going to get I'm not going to get Damn it.
Man. Well,
but I will have a cookie in the morning when I wake up, because I make good life decisions.
Well, I may get into one of these and take the other two home, but they look...
I'll send you home with more.
Oh,
My thought is I need to probably make another batch. I'm not going to fill that up, but I need to make a pretty good
these are delicious, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
But these are all for work. Tomorrow.
We're having a tailgate thing tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
And we've got some people at work that are not UT fans. That are Georgia, Arkansas, and Clemson fans.
Oh, right.
And the Georgia guy, I was like, because he always gives me hell. He's like, you need to bring cookies. I was like, hey, man, it's a UT tailgate. You don't get any cookies. He's like, you hate a winner. I was like, you shut your mouth.
I will ask, actually, could I perhaps get a glass of water?
Oh, yes, sorry.
No, you're all good.
This is what I get for being distracted by this. That's usually the first thing I ask. Is, do you want water or...
to wash my delicious cookies down.
You want a little bit of milk?
No, I'm good. Thank you, though.
Okay, so when you graduated, what was your thought? Like, what was the next thing for you?
Well, I feel like this is, it's true to me. I know you don't know me too well, but...
A bit full.
Oh, thank you. I'll take a...
And then I set it right by my computer like a genius.
I know. I don't want to be responsible for that.
It's an old computer.
But it was very true to me. But I graduated, and I think for a minute I thought about staying out there, but I was really, really homesick, and I was ready to. I love San Francisco, but I think being, it's different. It's different than East Tennessee, and there's some things that I just don't think you can, you can kind of grasp until you're in a place like that for a while.
I will say, one of the things I love most about San Francisco is public transportation.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, and also walkability.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So when I was over there, my dad used to be 437 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to make a life change, lose weight. I go out there for a conference. And before I left, he's like, what you down to? And I was like, I'm like 285 maybe. He's like, all right. So I left. I was gone for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
ate my ass off because the food in San Francisco.
Yeah.
I found some old school Italian place where I almost ordered a meal for like a family because it was so good.
Right.
And me and one other woman split it, and we were both like, "Oh, we're both going to be sick," but this is some of the best Italian food, authentic.
Yeah.
But then I came back. He's like, "All right, where you at, boy?" And I had lost like 10 or 15 pounds because I walked.
Walking,
it was June, and I walked so much, and he was like, "Son of a bitch, I finally got below you, and you damn lost weight." I was like, "Dad, I probably walked 8 miles a day."
Oh yeah.
Hell,
yeah.
and I loved it. I loved it so much.
Well, and I mean, me and my wife try to go, maybe not, if not every year, then every other year for a little trip, and I mean, really, I think about every day we end up walking, 8-10 miles, and it's just there's so much to look at, so much to see, so much to eat.
I will say, as many times as I've been, I've still not made out to wine country.
Me neither. Yeah.
Because I never feel like spending the money on a rental car.
Yeah.
Especially somewhere like that. I was like, I don't want to waste $300 on a rental car just so I can go out and get drunk somewhere.
Oh, yeah. No, the only time, and actually it was my wife that had done it. She had been, before we got together, she had been over to, what is it? It's where the Muir Woods are.
Oh, yeah.
There's like some kind of, I can't remember, but she was like, "Have you gone over there?" And I was like, "No, not at all." So and I'm like, I'm not a good driver to begin with. So I was like, I'm not going to I'm not renting a car and driving in San Francisco. So she rented a car and took me across the Golden Gate Bridge. And we went to Muir Woods, and that was amazing. And there is, if you are ever there again and you do feel like going across to that area, there is now she's gonna be mad at me, I can't remember the name of this place, but there's a great little bed and breakfast there that has like a very old something goat maybe, but it's got a very old, and it's got a great little like British pub in there, and it's just beautiful, and so I highly recommend it, and I will.
Okay. There's homework for me.
Yeah, I'll tell her. She'll know exactly. It's something goat.
The dancing goat.
That's what
the farting goat.
I think I want to say the prancing pony, but I know that's like Lord of the Rings.
Was there? Here, I'm gonna try and yell. See if this works. Was there ever a point during any of this where, because VFX and CGI is such a huge thing, where you thought about going that route?
Yeah.
Like chasing the money.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, I think, and that's what it's like. I really have, of course I thought about it, but I think, being at that school, it did teach me, because basically especially towards the end of the year, or end of my time there, technology was kind of increasing so much that, in order for me to do my work, I had to go to like the animation lab, which was just like this, it was like on the 10th floor of this giant building, and it was just a sea of desks in the darkness, and all the blinds were closed, and and people like sitting in front of these glowing screens like zombies, and lots of them were like, perpetually, they were always wearing Pixar hats or Disney hats, and there's something about it that like it just kind of depressed me. I was like, this is also isn't what I really want to do, and so, and I knew that was especially, I think that was like the visual effects stuff like that already. I knew some people that it just seemed like part of the culture was you just never stop working. And and I also was like, I'm not I'm not into that, so and I mean, to each their own. I think my
buddy Adam and I joke about that all the time, about how you'll see these companies and be like, we have a weight room, we have babysitting, we have all this, and it's like all that, the underlying messages, so you can work all the time.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of visual effects places are
Yeah, because some of them now are talking about forming a union because they're so overworked.
Right. But yeah, so I thought about it, but I don't know. I think yeah, when I graduated, I was just really homesick, and I think I was tired and wanted to, I just wanted to take another break, and I knew that. And it's funny because also times have changed, but I knew that I could probably come back to Knoxville, get an apartment here, and ooh, nice. Thank you. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. Perfect. And they will get eaten.
Wait, how many are in your household?
There are 2 others, my wife and my stepdaughter. Oh yeah, I mean I'll take as many as you give. But...
That's 6. That's 2
Perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. They were delicious.
Thank you. Okay, you knew you could come back to Knoxville. Cost of living would not be
well,
as
that
bad.
was the thing. I remember I was so homesick, and I before I'd left all of that, I had and when I came back for some summers during that time period in college, and I would always go back to work at Mr. Gaddy's, and my manager, one of the greatest people that I've ever known. He was really sweet, and I was like, I called him and was like, hey man, I'm thinking about coming back to Knoxville. Like, is there any way I could just like start working like right away? and he was just like, of course. And then I also knew about they're not called Huntington Place apartments anymore, but there were some apartments right off of Sutherland Avenue. Okay. And they were kind of in Bearden, and they were like this like holdout of really cheap apartments in a kind of nice, walkable neighborhood. And I didn't have a car because I had just been in San Francisco that whole time. So I was like, if I come back, I need to figure out the cat bus system. And I need to be able to walk to work and all that.
So you figure out the cat bus system. You walk 3 miles to catch a bus.
No, I mean it was great. The cat, I loved it. How simple, especially if it's right off Kingston Pike.
Yeah, that's true.
I
kid. Yeah. If I could handle the heat.
Oh yeah,
I would probably use it a lot more, but I can't handle the walking and sweating and getting there. Gross.
No, I get it.
And I'm actually going to take a picture.
Oh, nice.
And this will be on Ramblin' Man, so you're hearing.
Oh, you want me to hold it, or
you can hold it. Look at this. Look at this production. This is production values. There we go. Now that'll go up on the. So you're hearing it here. Oh God. It's a little shadowy, but
hey, I think it works.
There we go. Sorry for the brief commercial interruption. But okay, so you knew you could move back,
right?
And so you work at Mr. Gaddy's. Are you still doing like animation at home or trying?
Yeah, doing what I could, but I think I just kind of I think school was, it was stressful, and I think I just needed a little break, and man, I moved back to Knoxville and just felt like a king. Like I think that being in such a city environment and going from that to getting this 1-bedroom apartment that was just unbelievably cheap at the time, and I was in Pleasure Town, and so I just took some time and kind of meandered from there, and but of course I think was like at some point you need to figure out what you're gonna do, and
I like that. At some point.
Yeah.
At some point. I'm gonna eyeball this one. Let's see how that works. Oh my God. We are known. It's a weird thing because we are known as a production town because of HGTV and all that.
Right.
But it's more film, not animation.
Yeah.
So were you looking into any of that, or?
Well, yeah, what kind of ended up happening, and so I'm kind of, it's just I'm very grateful for everything. But I met my wife,
There you go.
and she was in full support of my career at Mr. Gaddy's, but I think I at that point kicked in the gear that I'm like, man, you should try to do a little better. And not that there's anything wrong with Gaddy's, but I did have like this.
This was also at the time where they weren't paying $15 an hour,
right,
too.
right. But I did have this college degree, and so I think the first thing I started to do was also when kind of freelancing through the internet kind of popped up.
Okay.
So I did a couple things here and there, and then
Was it mostly local, or were you pulling in stuff from other places?
it was from all kinds of places. I know there were a couple websites that just kind of like freelancing, and it was a good thing to like kind of dip my toe into that world. But of course, I think a lot of those are not great. But then locally, I think we had a friend who knew some people at Design Sensory.
Yeah.
And
I know.
And they
everybody who worked there at one point.
yeah. Sarah Loebner she's the wind beneath
Sarah
my
and Josh.
wings. Yeah.
Maybe that's how I've met you.
Yeah, it could have been.
Sarah and Michael Toronto, who used to be the marketing director at Knoxville Opera, they had the same birthday, so I knew both of them separately.
Okay.
So they had a birthday party at their house. So maybe it was that.
Huh.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and they let me do some storyboards for them, and that was like the first like big professional project for me, and it was amazing. And then I think this is the right timeline, but then kind of through the freelancing websites, I did connect with a guy named Norm Harper, who is a wonderful human being, and I'm very grateful to have met him. But he had written a adaptation of Rikki Tikki Tavi, and he was looking for an artist for a graphic novel, and I don't know. I think just he kind of mentioned like Secret of Nim as an inspiration, and I just was like, man, this is kind of like right up my alley.
That is not a name I've heard of.
So anyway, I like wrote him a frantic letter to try and get the job, and he really liked my stuff, and so we talked for a while, and I ended up getting to work on that, and he was, it was all I had to do for a year, which was pretty amazing. It was my, yeah.
That's awesome.
And I'm to Norm Harper, I'm forever grateful for him allowing that to happen. And
do you feel like you learned a lot on that project?
Oh yeah, tons. I think we both did, and it was, we've tried to like do some other things again, and I think especially well, I think life gets in the way, things get complicated, but it was like this beautiful time when I think I was able to fully commit for this year's worth of work on a project, and yeah, I learned a ton of stuff, and yeah, but it was great. It was,
Well, and it's starting to do both of those kind of and with the website kind of expand your thought on what you could be doing.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Because you said storyboards,
right.
Like that's
not
too off base, but that's still
right. Well, and that's what I recognized. Okay, there are opportunities locally for like storyboarding with the right project and the right production place. but then also, I think there was also this graphic novel route where I thought, oh well, working with Norm on Ricky, that I was able to survive off of that for a year. So I was like, well, let's get another project and survive off of that for another year, but that's easier said than done. And so I think kind of, for a minute I didn't quite know. It's all getting jumbled together. But I think after Ricky was done, I'm trying to think what I did.
I also feel like I'm just providing Foley work for your story.
Yeah. But eventually, I did have the, I did get to do the comic strip in the Knoxville Mercury.
Okay.
And that
Oh,
was
so you know Trisha.
Trisha Bateman?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So she recommended me to somebody to do their branding.
And
I met with him today, and I met with him. I was like, I don't know if you remember, but we have met a long time ago. And he was like, wait, yeah, I know you. I was like, that's hilarious.
Man, Knoxville, yeah, small world, but
I joke that anytime I'm somewhere and they're like, oh yeah, I know somebody in Knoxville. I was like, what's their name? I was like, I probably know them. It's a Knoxville thing. Everybody knows everybody, man. It's just, it's awesome.
right.
I love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I did that, and then I did. I ended up. I think maybe at that time after the graphic novel ended, I was trying to continue to freelance and was just having a pretty hard time. And then I think at that time period, I started to work at Tomato Head, making pizzas there.
Whatever is the one with Benton's bacon. That's the one I always order.
Well, I can tell you that that there is such a thing as too much of something.
How dare you?
No,
I'm going to ask you to leave and leave the. No, you can take it to the wife and the little one, but you can't. No.
I will say that there was one, because we would kind of rack up these employee meal kind of coins, and I wouldn't really eat on my shifts, so I accrued quite a bit, and eventually I started to take home some pizzas, and there was one pizza I made that I think before the employee discount it was like $50.
Holy crap. Oh, because of all the stuff you put on.
Just one $50 pizza, and it was Benton's bacon, I remember, and then I think I put pesto on it, and there was something else that was extremely salty, and it was almost inedible because it was so salty that I just went overboard. And so that's what I mean. The Benton's bacon.
You were Icarus.
I flew too close. Yeah.
Okay, so you came back. Did you go, hey, listen, I have experience at Mr. Gaddy's.
Yes, I mean, it pretty much did. And
That's awesome.
yeah, and I did have I had a buddy that worked there, so
Yeah.
he helped me out in that regard. But then I kind of cast a wide net locally, but I did see. I came upon this video of this local production company that had made. It was they had characters from Star Wars invading Market Square, and I was like, who are these people? And looked it up, and it was a place called Elastic Pictures.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've never seen that video, but I know Elastic
Yeah.
Pictures.
So, and I ended up reaching out to them, and they reached back, and I did a little bit of freelance for them, and then I eventually worked there and was there for about 5 years.
Okay.
And as their kind of illustrator, and they were very sweet to me, and I think it was very good timing because they had an illustrator there, but she was about to leave.
Now,
And
Am I remembering this wrong? Did Elastic Pictures at one point end up being, even though they were from here, they had an office in like the UK or something? There was
Yes.
some kind of UK.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, one of the owners is British, and he was, yeah, he like worked from there for a little while. So
Okay.
yeah.
I remember, so, oh my God. This is the rudest podcast ever. I feel like such a dickhead but you're going home with cookies, so.
Yes. Oh no, it's perfect.
There used to be a thing held at Knoxville Museum of Art called I think it's called like the Creative Exchange. Mm-hmm. It was this massive thing that like that's back when there were like 20 printers around,
Right.
20 plus printers around town.
Yeah.
And I remember that's the first place I ever met Elastic Pictures because they had the coolest business cards.
Oh, nice.
They were like a Zeppelin, but it was also like perforate. Like it was, as a designer,
Oh yeah.
it made me so excited.
No, they make some great stuff.
So then later on, I went to their website. I was like, because I think they were somehow in partnership with Tombras, or they were working
Right.
out of that office. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they're still around. I hadn't seen them in so long.
Yeah, they're not connected to Tombras, but they do. I guess what I'm saying, they're separate entities, but they do a lot of work with Tombras.
Right.
And
Oh my God.
but yeah, they moved over to South Knoxville, and
Okay.
and yeah, they're in this, and it's like right in this area that's really changing, and it's exciting because I'm like, man, they're gonna be a hot spot pretty soon.
All right, I'm about to make a lot of noise.
All right.
Making beats over here. Okay. Ta-da.
Nice.
So I also found these mini. So I had a
Oh,
few of them
man.
left. So those mixed in with the Ghirardelli should be good.
Yeah.
I'll show you another weird one that I found. Check this out. It tells you what the bits are. They're like waffle cone bits, and
Oh man, that looks nice.
they should be a sponsor of this podcast. Hey, Nestle.
Yeah,
come on.
Nestle, come on, Nestle Toll House.
I will say,
Hot fudge sundae ice cream sandwiches. Woo.
those were on sale at the Kroger one day, and I picked up like 4 packages of them. I was like, I gotta eventually try. They were very good, but I feel like these were not enough. Like I feel like it should be equal.
Yeah.
My God, my house is a absolute wreck at this point. I forgot whenever I bake shit, I just throw it everywhere.
No, I mean you got to get in the flow, you know.
Okay, so Elastic. Now, earlier on, you had mentioned storytelling. Mm-hmm. So, were at any of these points, or did you have a thought to directing, or even just character design, or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think character design. I think was
always a part of it.
Was fascinating. Yeah, I mean, and I think there were definitely some people that I think I really admired, especially in college, that were character designers. But I also knew that was a very that was a tough one to like just want to immediately jump into. You know,
Okay.
Like, I think a lot of them had been in the system for a while and kind of rose to the point.
They built up to
yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
So I of course thought about it, but I think at this point, I was just really excited about. My wife is texting me to be like, "Are you okay?" Sorry.
This is not the first time this has happened. And all this will stay in because it's hilarious. My friend Andrea, who's just on, her partner was texting her because she was like, wait, you're going to some random dude's house and you're gone for 3 hours?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just going to be like, hey,
I think we're getting pretty close. No, not at all.
I just realized I was like getting texts and I was like, oh, I should probably.
Just take a picture of the cookies.
Yeah, as I say, bringing me cookies.
Yeah. It's all worth it, I swear.
Okay.
Okay, so
What was I
directing
saying?
or character design.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at that, especially, I was just, I mean, I still to this day think it's, amazing anyone wants to give me money to draw. And it doesn't matter what, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I just think it's cool. And so, yeah, I mean, I think for me, the directing and the storytelling was really, the big one for me was doing the comic strip for the Mercury. That was kind of my pride and joy, and I just, oh man, I loved that process of. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like I got all that. I got to design characters, but then for me, what I've always loved about ongoing series is that you can kind of eventually these characters are going to start kind of writing themselves and telling you, and like I think that's part of the joy of watching a show or reading a series or whatever. It's when you can you can understand the character and get to know it, and so for me that was just I had enough time with that comic strip to really get to know the characters and just I mean it was so much fun to do that. But yeah, I mean I also I needed to find a job.
A job.
J-O-B.
Yeah.
But no, and Elastic they were very sweet and took I think a chance on me and I learned a ton of stuff there and I'm very very grateful for it.
Well, okay. Feel free to not answer this if you want to, because I'm a marketing person too,
Right,
and I notice your social media seems very like I don't want to say curated, but seems very directed.
Huh.
So was that a conscious? And it also seems I don't want to say more recent, but it's was that a conscious choice?
Well, I'm curious to know because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing out there. So what do you mean by directed? Like what do you mean?
It's all on point.
Uh-huh.
It's all nothing but work.
Oh yeah.
And it's just very like a mixture of here's stuff on a white background, here's stuff on it's just very driven. There's
I got you.
another person I had on, Amanda Pruitt. Oh my God, I'm sorry, Amanda, that I forgot your Napris. I'm trying to pronounce her. That episode is very good, and her work. She goes by like APK Creates.
Okay.
That she worked for UT forever.
Yeah.
And she's very talented, and she is someone that it's almost like, I don't want to say y'all are similar, but I see a lot of the similarities.
I've listened to somebody, and I know I'm terrible, but I had seen her work before, and I really admired it, but I don't know.
Maybe it's AP Creates. Oh my God, I am so sorry, Amanda. I'm trying to pull it up because she does. I think you would like the work that she does. Why am I not? Okay, I'm gonna tell you. I'm also getting video of one of my friends either complaining about things or singing, and I can't tell which one. There she is, APN. Oh God, Amanda Pruitt Nepris, and I'm looking for K. So she's also like a huge animation person.
Oh no, I haven't. Oh okay, no, I don't. I thought is she local?
She was. Her and her partner moved to Portland.
Oh, maybe I think I have seen those the smoky dog.
Stuff.
Yes.
I figured this would be in your wheelhouse that you would like this.
Yeah, very much.
Very curated, very. That's what I mean by yours. That's why I say similar.
Oh well, thank you. I really don't.
And from a marketing perspective.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I don't feel like I really know what I'm doing, but I have been trying lately to think of like Instagram as kind of. And things like that as kind of my own little, in a more positive way, as like my own little just TV channel. Yeah. That I can kind of just do whatever I want. And if you want to tune in, that's awesome. If you don't, you can switch.
Have you ever considered doing something like a Patreon or something?
Yeah, I've always thought about it. It's I don't. There's always I think. For me right now, I've kind of hit a point, and of course it's always evolving, but I think part of the fun I'm having is just having fun with drawing and trying to. I think because I'm lucky enough and privileged enough to like have a job that I am getting to draw professionally and that space is filled, but it's fun on the outside of that realm to just, it kind of gives me an opportunity to be like, well, do whatever you want.
We'll say the one, and I don't think somebody shared it, but I think I saw it in my Discovery tab, was the Macho Man.
Right.
Because that actually came from one of my closest friends. His name's Adam Kennedy. Runs Refill Coffee Cart. And I had him on to talk about the first 5 years of Refill, what that was like. He worked for Scripps Networks for a long time. And at the end, what's funny is I asked him a question, which I end up asking you, but the way he answered it, and then he immediately went, well, what's it for you? I was like, damn it, I'm the question asker. And the question, and we'll get to this later, if you could talk to a 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell them? Which comes from Ryan Sickler of the Honeydew podcast. He says 16. And I think 14 is way more important because you're just making that switch from middle school to high school.
Right.
Like 16, I feel like you fill in your oats a little bit more. But Adam and I had talked, and I think he had said something about being more emotionally available. And I was like, oh, yeah, I wish I could go back to the 14-year-old version of myself and say, hey, man, it's okay to cry. It doesn't make you a pussy.
Right.
It doesn't make you make you a pansy. You can still be a man and cry.
Right.
And so when I saw that thing, I was like, holy shit. Because I had just recorded that and released it not long before that. So I was like, I immediately sent to him because he is also was a regional wrestler and and is a big wrestling nerd. Had a wrestling podcast.
That's great. I'm not like great about the history of wrestling, but I know a little bit and enough to just be like, man, it's a fascinating realm. And of course, when I think my wife, I know my wife sent me that clip, and then I think both her and I just started talking about, just how fun it would be to. And that's a perfect example with just like, I got to wake up and listen to that every day and just have fun with it and use all the drawings from my sketchbook and do that. And it just was a really it was a good one to do. Really just, I think it's easy to forget sometimes that it's okay to just draw for fun, Yeah.
Well, so the Knoxville Society of Illustrators.
Right.
So
I came upon that today. It's funny.
I shared it. That's why.
Oh, okay.
So that was started. Do you know Rob and Rachel Travis from Vivanel? So they're another one that you would like them. Yeah. But they're animation. Like they do motion graphics. Oh, God. I got to remember. Here I'm telling you earlier about why I fuss at people for not being on the microphone, and I'm not on the microphone. Oh my God, I misspelled the name. Let's just go with Rachel Travis Illustrations. But she would do. Oh my God, killing me, Google. No, I don't want it. Rachel Travis, Indiana. So they would do. She would do the illustrations.
Oh, I just followed her today. Oh, it's because she commented and I was like, who is this? And beautiful.
So, and then Rob, her husband, would do the animation. And so I've worked with them. They do a lot of the openings, but I'd worked with them on a project for UT where I did like spot illustrations, and then they animated it and mixed it with her stuff. But I mean, it's just really good.
I love it. Yeah.
I wonder if it's a long, from what I remember, this video is a long video. Oh no, it's just 2 minutes. But I helped with some of this stuff, all of those spot illustrations of the buildings and everything. Because that's what I'm kind of good at, is those detailed vector drawings.
Man.
And put this together, and this thing actually kind of blew up a little bit. Thank God. But yeah, Rachel did some of the interstitial stuff with the rain and the flame. I think there's a spot where it spins around or something, and she did that. So it was kind of a blend of the two of us, and then Rob did all the animation for it.
Man, love that.
Yeah, but they're really good people.
Nice. Well, yeah, because I followed her today. So,
But the reason why I say that is because Kevin Smith has given up a lot of his old comic book art. So there you go. Drink. There's 3 people. Why did I do that? There are 3 people that I mention their names on every podcast, and Kevin Smith is one of them. So, reason why I mention her is they had a studio in the Everything Mushrooms building.
Oh,
Vibe and L
okay,
was
yeah,
based out there.
yeah.
And I met them. I'm not going to get into that story. Too long of a story. Let's cut to the quick. And she had been kind of like a stay-at-home mom, but she was a really good illustrator. And he was like, we're trying to get her more involved. And he was like, I feel like since we have this space, we could have a meetup group. And they're like, everybody.
Right.
So do you want to be, and then, and we did it kind of as a private group forever since it was just in their building.
Right.
And then after the pandemic, she bowed out and I kind of took over.
Right.
And I was finally like, I got to make this thing public.
Yeah.
It's driving me nuts. It's the same 3 people every time. God love them. I love them. But so I made it public and I'm trying to get more people to come out.
Yeah.
Because I want more people to talk about the business side of it.
Right. Yeah. No. I saw it. Was like, man, you need to go to those. And it's like, yeah. I mean, like we were talking about earlier. It's yes. There's part of me that's like, I always think it's a tricky endeavor to like try and get illustrators together.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of us, not all, but a lot are kind of, it's like I enjoy drawing the most when it's almost like in my sketchbook I can go to it's like I can slip into a deeper kind of consciousness, I don't know, and it takes a minute, Yeah. But at some point I get into that flow and like the zone feeling where all time slips away and all that, and it's it's really fun, and I know that socializing and doing that it won't happen. So it's like a tricky.
Everybody, hell's bells. Everybody in the group is way more talented than me. Like I don't feel like I can draw by hand worth of shit.
Right.
I can do Illustrator pretty good to a level, but I know my wheelhouse.
Right.
But not to be an arrogant prick, but what I know I'm good at is bringing people together, making people feel safe.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because there are people in that group that do not go out much in public, but they're like, I know you, so I'll go.
Right.
And that is one thing I know I'm pretty good at. So that's why I always say with that thing, I was like, just come.
Yeah.
You don't have to sit there and talk the whole time. You don't have to share.
Yeah.
But it ends up, like I say, there are people in that group that are not networkers, community, and they're like, oh no, this is a safe group.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I 100%. I know I'd go and love it. So.
And I'll be doing it like every month.
Awesome.
So.
Well, I saw him. Was like, and I know a couple other illustrators locally that I've connected with, and they're all great folk, and I'm sure they would be interested in going.
Okay.
Too. They may already know about it, but.
Well, it's still relatively new. Okay. So let's run through I'm going to try and get you out of here. Good Lord. I'm just trying to get this last one done. Now I'm starting to sweat. Okay. This is almost like rapid fire.
Okay.
Answer at your own pace, however much you'd like to share.
All right.
What would you like to see more of in art and creativity?
Ooh. Man, I think I thought about this before I came here. No, like what? Because I think I'd listened to it and I knew you were going to ask me that. But honestly, I think I would love to see more. Just people having fun. I don't know. I guess. Yeah, that's a good question.
People, how about people enjoying their work? I'm not answering the question,
Right.
but like,
Yeah, I think I don't know. I feel like actually, there's not much I would change, to be honest, because I feel like people are having fun and enjoying their work, and
I don't
so
know.
I just want to see
stuff out of Hollywood, the VFX office,
Yeah,
and it's like
yeah.
those people.
Oh yeah, and for sure, and definitely, and I think I mean, as far as that's concerned, I think I would love to see them making livable wages and all, of course, not spending their lives working and all that, and but I mean, I think the more creativity, the better, and I just like to see more and more of it,
Okay.
So
Is there anyone you would like to work with?
man, anyone I would like to work with. Man, I will say recently, we have discovered How To with John Wilson on HBO.
There's a clip now from like
Oh,
a
he's in
recent episode.
Gatlinburg. Yeah.
Well, no, he's at the East Tennessee Historical Center.
Oh, right, yeah.
Talking about the McClung.
Yeah.
Which I haven't caught up, so I haven't. I don't have
it's-
HBO or Max.
Right, it's a good one, but I just came upon him like I don't know, like a month ago, and I was like, man, this guy is like nailing it to
Yeah.
me. Like he's just, and I'm like, I would love to. I immediately was like, I'd love to work with him.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yeah.
I feel like that's almost like I don't want to say not aiming too high, but that's like a not. Like I feel like that could happen.
Yeah.
You're
yeah.
not saying The Rock.
Right.
You're saying somebody.
Well, I mean, I told my wife that I have a bit of a man crush on him.
There you
I
go.
just think he's awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
God. See, that for me may be Nick Offerman.
Oh yeah.
That's someone I
maybe.
would love to work with because it's
Yeah.
just like, man, I would pass out if I would love to just sit down and have a scotch with him. I don't know, like scotch and a cigar.
Yeah.
And just hang out and talk to the dude.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously great.
Yeah.
As well.
Do you set goals or a checklist?
I do lots of goals, lots of checklists. I think. But yeah, I mean, personally, a goal is I try to at least put some stuff down in my sketchbook every day, and I keep track of it, and then I think professionally, I usually always try to like keep a half-hour timer going, and then I'm like focus for a half hour, take a break, focus for a half an hour, take a 5-minute break, focus for a half hour. But that's about it. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
I think I'm sure I have lots of lists.
Okay.
Lots of checklists.
Oh, yeah. I've got my box of ideas in there that if I started working on them now, I will die before I ever get them.
Oh yeah.
my God.
Absolutely.
Do you know what you'd like to do in the next 10 years?
Man, I honestly, I hope to just keep being able to do what I do. Sometimes I'd like the worst part of me worries that my wrist is going to give out and I'm not going to be able to draw, and I think I would have a hard time with that. So, as long as I can, I mean, really, in the most simplest way, I'm like, please let me continue to draw.
As long as you stay off the skateboard, you may be okay.
I know. Well, that's why I'm like, you got to make a choice here, buddy. And I like, and I was like, man, I really feel like I eat, drink, and sleep drawing, and so that'd be a trip if I couldn't do it. So knock on wood. So 10 years.
I
as
think
long as
that's
I'm...
real wood. I never know. That's real wood.
Okay, we'll knock on.
Yeah. There we go. Is there any museum or magazine or website or anything where you'd like to see your work published?
Museum magazine website.
I say website because of animation. I feel weird saying.
No, I mean, I think obviously, there's, I think a lot of people have the deep fantasy of a New Yorker cartoon. That would be pretty awesome. Let's see, what else? What were the other places?
Museum, magazine, or website. I wasn't sure if there's like an animated website, curated hub website or something.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
I think
probably
there are
a ton.
probably a ton. Yeah. But no, I mean, I think I don't know. I did get some stuff into the Society of Illustrators in New York, and that was a big one.
Yeah,
that was a big as far as the museum is concerned. So
yeah,
I feel like I can check that off the list.
There you go.
So yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to drive home and be like, oh wait,
can you splice in me saying? I record on my phone. I hope that'll work.
But no, I mean, I think I'm always honored when anyone shows my stuff. So I really, nothing that's coming to mind. Just New Yorker cartoon would be pretty cool.
Okay. And here's the big one. If
right.
you could talk to the 14-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell them?
Man, I'd tell them that it's all going to be just fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think I would. I think about it a lot where I'm like, man, there are plenty of times when I was like, how are you, and of course you get all the questions like, how are you going to make a living doing this? How are you going to do all that? And I think, of course, spent a lot of years in anxiety about that, but. Yeah, I'd tell my 14-year-old self, just be like, just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll be a-okay. I think, I mean,
it's good to go out on. Thank you for participating in this experiment.
Thank you.
I will probably never do this again because I feel like I've been a rude dickhead that I'm over there making cookies while you're talking. As I remembered, I forgot to put this back in the freaking fridge. So it doesn't sit there and melt. Thank you for participating in this. Sorry,
thank
it was
you for having me.
a freaking mess.
No, I loved it. I think you should do this every time. Really.
I'll see her make cocktails. That's what the next thing is. Get somebody really drunk.
Yeah, that'd
be like,
yeah.
yeah. Just keep talking. Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
All right. Thank you.